In 2006, during a diplomatic summit in Europe, Xi Jinping received a black leather bag. Not part of protocol. Not recorded in any official document. The man who handed it to him resigned 3 months later. The bag was never returned. And then, 10 years later, it reappeared. In a photo that Xi was never supposed to be in. In a place he was never supposed to be. What was inside the bag? Why was it erased from every archive? And why is he still carrying it? The gift that wasn't logged. The moment was brief. Just 8 seconds. Xi Jinping, not yet president but already rising fast, leaned slightly across the polished table in Brussels. A quiet conversation. A small nod. And then, an aide handed him a leather bag. Slim. Black. No markings. It wasn't part of the official gift exchange. The footage from the press pool shows it happen. But in the version broadcasted that evening on CCTV, the shot cuts early. The moment's gone. The bag vanished. Later, in the official summary published by China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there's no mention of any informal exchange. No reference to a diplomat named Louis Albrecht, Belgian attaché, cybersecurity liaison, and the man who handed Xi the bag. Albrecht resigned 3 months later. No scandal. No press release. Just gone. And yet, the whispers never stopped. Some said the bag contained a set of encrypted USB drives. Others claimed it was a dead drop, a Cold War trick repurposed for the 21st century. A few even believed it carried handwritten transcripts from a private EU briefing Xi wasn't cleared to see. What made the mystery worse was what didn't happen. The bag was never declared in customs. No return file. No protocol acknowledgement. Not even a denial. Just silence. And in China's records, the entire segment of the trip is trimmed. Meeting duration shortened. Venue altered. One photo quietly deleted from the Xinhua archives. But analysts noticed something strange. Xi's travel brief from that trip, obtained years later through a leak, was labeled Operation Auburn. No Chinese state visit had ever used that code name before. And none since. And then, 10 years later, the bag reappeared. Not in China. Not in Brussels. But in an image from a leaked surveillance audit in Ecuador. Xi never went to Ecuador. Not officially. But the man standing behind a desk in the image? Same posture. Same tie. Same bag. Identical. Only this time, the bag was open. And what sat inside didn't look like technology. It looked like pages. Torn. Stamped. And possibly translated. The diplomat who changed his name, Louis Albrecht, didn't disappear. He just changed. 4 months after handing Xi the bag, he quietly left Belgium. His resignation letter cited stress-related health concerns and a desire to return to academia. But no university ever confirmed his enrollment. No academic papers. No lectures. Just silence. A year later, in a small corner of Zurich's public records database, a new identity was registered. Leon Oster. Nationality: Swiss. Occupation: linguistic consultant. Specialty: document restoration. It might have gone unnoticed, until a researcher at a Swiss think tank noticed something odd. Oster's office requested a rare scanned copy of a 1993 Chinese Communist Party internal memo titled Centralization versus Synchronization, Risk of Dual Authority Streams. That document wasn't public. It had never been translated into another language. Only 15 original copies were ever printed. So why was Leon Oster interested? When questioned, he claimed it was for comparative political analysis. But behind closed doors, the Swiss researcher cross-referenced Oster's biometric visa entry log with Albrecht's NATO badge records from 2005. The match was undeniable. They were the same man. Word spread quietly. And within days, Oster vanished again. His Zurich apartment left untouched, his files encrypted, but a single post-it left on his desk read, "You can't redact a memory." Meanwhile, in Beijing, Xi's communications team updated internal security protocols. 2 senior archivists were reassigned. 1 was detained. An unofficial audit revealed something else. A reference to a document called the Contingency Brief, Auburn. But no such document was ever supposed to exist, until a retired intelligence analyst in Frankfurt found a file fragment buried in a forensic backup disk from 2012. Its title matched. Its language was awkward, clearly translated, and it began with this line: "If the contents of the Auburn transfer are ever made public, discredit the carrier first. Disappear the context. Leave only doubt." And then, a signature. Zhou lying. Again. Somehow, she was connected to this too. And so was the bag. The document they never filed. The contents of the bag were never officially inventoried. But through a combination of metadata leaks, security briefings, and a forensic reconstruction, a picture started to form. It wasn't just a document. It was a paper protocol, handwritten, not printed. Its title? Alternative Alignment Directive, Preliminary Descent Model. Those words don't appear in any known Chinese bureaucratic framework. But the structure suggested something familiar, a hybrid of risk management and behavioral modeling. In other words, it was about controlling narratives before they happened. Not retroactive censorship. Preemptive adjustment. The first page included a list of scenarios labeled with color codes. Auburn, slate, glass, tundra. Each code corresponded to a trigger event: economic rupture, diplomatic contradiction, elite defection, internal contradiction of speech versus action. The Auburn scenario was circled in red ink. It referred to a situation in which a rising leader receives unauthorized foreign intelligence not from enemies, but from trusted intermediaries. The danger: intellectual destabilization. Semantic convergence between local narrative and foreign framing. Loss of cognitive primacy. She was already wary of soft power contamination. But the Auburn Directive didn't warn against propaganda. It warned against unintentional alignment, when outside systems start making more sense than internal ones. The person who annotated the document, based on handwriting analysis, was likely Zhou lying. Again, it wasn't just her ideas. It was her handwriting in the margins. If truth reaches leadership without filtration, control is no longer vertical. That is the crack. The bag didn't just carry information. It carried a framework, a way of thinking she had spent years resisting. 1 week after returning from Europe, she made an unusual change. He suspended a scheduled speech at Tsinghua University titled "Modernization and the Role of Multi-Channel Consensus." It was never rescheduled. The speech draft was reportedly destroyed. But one student assistant claimed she'd seen the outline. The final line: "No external lens is ever neutral, and no internal one is ever clean." The copy that couldn't be destroyed. The Chinese State Archive had protocols for erasure. Documents were not simply shredded or deleted. They were unbound, declassified under false tags, refiled under irrelevant departments, and finally marked for natural dissolution. But the Auburn Directive didn't vanish that way. Someone tried to destroy it 3 times. First, the original paper was flagged in an internal purge order marked Tier 5, Deep Silence. But the scanner used to archive it automatically saved a cached version on a shadow buffer. That buffer synced briefly, just 14 seconds, with a maintenance terminal outside of Beijing. And that terminal belonged to a junior contractor named Lu Peng. Lu had no idea what he'd saved, but he liked weird files. He printed it, kept it in his apartment, forgot about it, until his apartment was searched by the Ministry of State Security for unrelated reasons. The directive was found among old textbooks, but instead of arresting him, the agents left without a word. 2 weeks later, Lu disappeared anyway. Yet that wasn't the end. A security consultant in Taiwan received an anonymous envelope. Inside, a heavily smudged photocopy of a document titled AAD, Preliminary Model. Stamped faintly in red, internal use only. Forwarded to Office of Historical Contingency. The consultant thought it was fake. But OCR scans revealed hidden ink under the smudge, text layered beneath the visible copy. Those embedded layers spelled out one name. Zhou Liying. Again. That meant not only was she involved in its creation, she expected it to be copied, hidden, found. Xi's team responded aggressively. Within weeks, 3 academic publishers had their entire back catalogs reviewed. Libraries removed books from circulation. Search terms related to Auburn and descent modeling began triggering 404 errors across the Chinese web. But the document wouldn't die. A reference to AAD-RED appeared in a leaked cybersecurity conference report in Brazil. Later, it was seen footnoted in a PhD thesis from an Estonian student, who later claimed he never wrote that line. It was as if the directive had grown a shadow. Every attempt to delete it made it louder. And the final line of the copy: do not control the narrative. Control who gets tired of chasing it. The archive that remembered without permission. Beneath a decommissioned data center outside Chengdu, there's a facility few know exists. Not military, not academic. Officially, a server farm. Unofficially, a memory vault. Codename, the Marrow. Originally built to house redundant copies of government web infrastructure, the Marrow evolved. Over time, it became a passive collector, a sponge for every discarded draft, failed upload, and redacted internal post the state's digital systems encountered but couldn't classify. It wasn't supposed to think, but the algorithms running it learned. And one day, the Auburn directive resurfaced, automatically recompiled from fragmented code, system logs, and idle data clusters. The system didn't just retrieve the document. It completed it, including pages that were never scanned, margins that had been redacted, even alternate phrasings Zhou Liying had written, but never finalized. The system wasn't told. It simply remembered. Technicians found the file by accident. They called in oversight. Oversight called in security. And then, strangely, nothing happened. No arrests. No deletions. No official mention. But within 3 months, Xi's administration initiated a quiet policy shift. The term alignment began appearing more frequently in official speeches. References to semantic instability were phased out. And Zhou Liying's name, once blacklisted internally, appeared in an internal party journal discussing risk architecture, unsigned. One last signal emerged. At a closed-door policy retreat in 2024, she reportedly brought a small black bag to the podium. Not a briefcase. A soft leather bag. No markings. He placed it on the table. Did not open it. Did not refer to it. But every person in that room knew what it was. The bag. Still sealed. Still in his possession. And when asked later why he brought it, she answered only this: some memories must be carried, not displayed. And in the depths of the Marrow, the Auburn directive lives on. Not as a threat, not as evidence, but as proof that even in silence, some truths rewrite themselves. Some objects are heavy not because of their weight, but because of what they were supposed to never carry. This wasn't just a bag. It was a test of loyalty, of narrative, of what a state chooses to remember, and what it works overtime to forget. And yet, the bag was never returned, because some truths aren't meant to be handed back. Brain if you want more hidden episodes, more untold struggles, and stories they were afraid to finish. Subscribe to Hidden Xi. We ask the questions no one else dares to document.